Hytale is finally out in early access. It's been a long time coming, and a lot of people are jumping in asking the same thing. Is it worth playing now? Is it just another building game, or does it bring something fresh to the table? I've been putting a few hours into it, and I want to walk you through what it actually feels like to play, what works, what's missing, and whether it's something you should pick up right now or maybe wait on. Let's get into it. Hytale launched in early access on January 13th, 2026. The devs gave a pretty clear heads up that launch week might be rough due to high demand, and they were right. The game surged on Twitch, peaking around just over 400,000 viewers, and the first batch of hotfixes rolled out almost immediately. It's early access in the truest sense of the word, essentially a playable work in progress. And if you go in expecting that, there's actually a lot to like here. So what exactly is Hytale? At a glance, it's a sandbox survival game with blocky visuals. Obviously similar to Minecraft in that way, but the vibe is different. There's a much stronger fantasy theme here. The world feels more alive, and more like it's trying to tell a story through its locations and enemies, even though there's no real narrative in yet, at least with how far I am. You spawn in, start gathering your resources, and before long you're running into caves, ruins, enemy camps, and other landmarks that make the world feel lived in. The loop is familiar: mine, craft, build, explore, fight, and repeat. But it's all wrapped in this RPG-like feeling that gives it a bit more direction. Even without a quest system right now, there's a sense of progression. Like you're uncovering parts of a larger world rather than just surviving in an empty one. In my first few hours, I played solo, no guides, just diving in the way a normal player might. I started by gathering materials and building a small base. I'm not the best at building in these games, but just somewhere to get set up. I always make sure it's by a river or a body of water for some fishing, although I haven't done that in this game yet. From there, I started wandering, exploring caves, fighting off the wildlife, and poking around abandoned houses and ruined villages. That's where the game really started to click for me. I was finding chests in these forgotten places, grabbing loot, and pushing deeper into the wilderness just to see what else was out there. It didn't feel like empty wilderness. There was always something around the next hill, and that kept me moving. The enemies also help with that feeling. You don't just have passive mobs or generic danger. Right away, I ran into spiders nesting in caves and immediately noped out of there. No thanks. Encountered wolves out in the wild and stumbled across brown bears that could end you in just a few hits. There are also goblins that toss bombs and familiar golems that take a bit more effort to deal with. I also ran into a creepy void stalker when mining my way out of a cave. Combat is still early, you can feel that, but it's not completely bare bones either. You can block, dodge, use charge attacks, and even sneak around some tougher enemies if you're not ready to fight. It's simple, but it works well enough for now, and the variety of enemies keeps it from getting stale too quickly. One moment that stood out for me was getting ambushed in the woods by two bears. I circled around them and picked one off before dealing with the other. It's not the deepest combat, but it gives you just enough friction to stay engaged. The most interesting thing I found while exploring was a portal tucked away in the forgotten temple ruins. You have to beat a golem guarding it, and stepping through it took me to a new area, a peaceful forest filled with deer, rabbits, and friendly tree-like creatures. In the center of their village was this large tower and a statue called the Heart of Orbis. Interacting with it opened up what looks like a bestiary or a compendium, something that tracks the creatures and enemies you encountered in the game. That system isn't fully fleshed out yet, but the idea behind it is strong. It gives the world a sense of purpose and discovery, encouraging you to find new creatures, rather than just grind for materials or gear. Now, a lot of that zone is still under construction. There are entire areas that are blocked off or not interactable yet, but it's clear this is meant to be an important hub area later on, so I'm intrigued at what this hub will be in the future. Building in Hytale is pretty smooth and easy to understand, especially if you played any survival sandbox before. I was able to get my first house up quickly, and I wasn't fighting the UI or the crafting system to get there. What stood out to me most so far is how much detail is already baked into the building and crafting. Even early on, you're seeing different wood types, stone types, and workbenches. It feels like there's room for more decorative and creative building, if that's your thing. So far, I got my furnace, tanning rack, and farmer's bench set up, ready to build out my little farm and start my armory. The world itself also makes a strong impression. The visuals are bright, colorful, and detailed in ways I didn't expect. There's a really good atmosphere here, relaxing when it needs to be, and tense when you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And the biomes are varied. In just a few hours, I passed through forests, cliffs, snowy areas, and dark caves with exploding mushrooms. Each area had a slightly different feel, and it made the world feel bigger than it probably is right now. There's a sense of scale and possibility here that I liked a lot. You can tell they're building towards something ambitious. Now, let's talk about what doesn't work, or just isn't ready yet. First off, a lot of the game is still in development. That probably seems obvious, but you'll see under construction signs in multiple places like I mentioned earlier. Systems that look like they'll be important later just aren't functioning yet. There are also some bugs, of course. I had a few visual glitches while building, nothing game breaking so far, but enough to remind you that you're in early access. Performance was solid for me with some hiccups here and there, but your experience might vary depending on your hardware. So, should you jump into Hytale right now? If you enjoy sandbox games and like the idea of exploring a fantasy world that's still coming together, there's enough here to enjoy. The core loop is already fun, exploration feels rewarding, combat is simple, as you'd expect from a Minecraft-like, but the enemy variety early on keeps things interesting. And building is clean and creative. So far I'm having a good time, and looking forward to jumping back into it. At 20 bucks, it's a fair price if you're curious and don't mind some rough edges. But if the missing pieces and under construction messages bother you, I'd say hold off and give the devs time to flesh out more of the world and systems. Hytale isn't trying to replace Minecraft, and it doesn't need to. The two games can exist side by side just fine. Right now, Hytale is a solid start with a clear direction. It's rough in places, but it shows promise. And for a game that's just entering early access, that's what matters most. Thanks for watching. Until next time.